Trek, Lower Decks.
I promised myself I wouldn't get emotional.
New season streaming September 7th, exclusively on Paramount Plus.
I'm trying. Hi, friends. Hi. I'm going to give you guys the best answers.
Yes.
Nice.
We're ready.
Everyone else got the worst answers.
Yeah, everybody else got mediums. You're getting full.
I'm pretty jealous of all that Stargate Atlantis discussion we had over there. That was pretty good.
Oh, that was good, right?
Yeah. You don't hear about them very often.
Hi, Mike. Can you take this?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Ah! My wife asked me, she's like, do people like the show this year? I was like, I think I do. And she goes, cool. Do the Sci-Fi Sisters like the show this year? And I was like, because she met all of you guys at Mission Chicago. And now she's like, she and my producer, Brad Winters, who Brad Boimler was named after, only care what the Sci-Fi Sisters say. I take into account Jesse Gender as well, but it is pretty important because we know you guys are the heart. So like, if you guys are into it, then we're doing it right there.
We love it.
Thank you. Oh, thank God.
Speaking of, I got a question.
Let's hear it.
The first question. Tawny Newsome and Don Lewis are, there you have a sister as the lead and sister is like semi-lead.
Oh yeah.
Was that intentional or did the best actors get the part?
Originally, I didn't know who would be playing Mariner, and I was open to her being Latina. I just knew I didn't want her to be, I just didn't know. Okay. And I was like, we were meeting with tons of people for casting, and Tawny, so Brad Winters, who I just brought up, he's like, I listened to this podcast, you've gotta hear this girl. And Tawny came in, and I had heard maybe 500 auditions. She came in and she got added to the list. Her name was written in into the printed list. And I just sit back and I was like, this is her, this is it. It's that moment you hear about, you know? And I was like, oh fuck, Tawny has to play this character. I'm gonna make sure this character utilizes Tawny's performance. And then at the end of her audition, I was like, hey, will you just ramble about Star Trek in this scene? Will you just keep the scene going and improvise? And that's when I knew she was as big of a nerd as I am. And that even though she doesn't seem like it because she's so cool, and but when she started rambling about, I changed the ending of the pilot to match her rambling from the audition because I wanted that permanently in the show. And then, so once I knew Mariner was gonna be Tawny, that's when I was like, maybe the captain should be Mariner's mom. I hadn't even decided that yet. And then Don Lewis is just like a force. That's such a no-duh, you know? And an amazing voice actor. I love her on Futurama. She's just, I think I utilize Tawny really well, but Dawn is so great, I don't know if I've ever fully unlocked everything with her because she has to keep it unlocked like the captain, you know what I mean? But Dawn brought her mom to the first table read because she was so proud to be a Star Trek captain, and from that moment on, I was like, I love Captain Freeman so much, it's the best.
Seems like there's some new names on the writers' credits this season.
Sure.
Forward. Can you talk about some of the new folks who are on the team?
We change it up every once in a while. I don't want to delve in specifically because I'm in season 5, which also is a mix,
sure.
you know, and I don't want to leave anybody out. But what I'd say is, you know, that people I have people come in on shows and they're sometimes they're great at everything. Sometimes they're you know, I've never seen Star Trek, but my mom and I have a crazy relationship, and I have them do those scenes and those get better. You never know kind of what the right match is for each season, and also writing Lower Decks is incredibly hard. You have to be not only the tone of Star Trek, but the tone of Lower Decks, which nobody's done before, and you know, the comedy of it is really specific. You know, it has to be I describe it as I used to work at Second City as the guy who cleaned up the room at the end of the day. And, you know, Second City would do jokes that were very Chicago specific, but you got them because most of the crowd was from the surrounding area. That's what you have to do with Lower Decks, but for Star Trek. You know what I mean? You can't leave the Chicagoland area of Star Trek for Lower Decks. So, you know, sometimes writers are moving on to better stuff, sometimes they're selling shows. There's a little bit more turnover on Lower Decks just because it's really hard, but we're just always trying to keep it fresh. I don't think there's ever been there's never been a crisis on Lower Decks. It's just, you know, it also takes a long time to write, and people go over to live action and make a bunch more money, and I'm like, bye, go have fun, you know.
It's great.
Oh. Okay. Oh, sorry. Hi, Nigeria Chambers, Big O Belt Media. I want to hear you talk about live action here. Let's talk about the crossover.
Oh,
Love to
God.
hear your reaction, Jack Quaid's work, and can we possibly be seeing future crossovers? Maybe?
I mean, sign me up. Let's do crossovers all the time. It's like the Oops All Berries, you know what I mean? Let's
okay.
Oops All
We're
Berries the
best friends
crossovers.
now.
I'm ready, you know? I mean, look, like, it's so funny because the crossover, I was like, this is so important to me because Tawny and Jack are so excited to do it. But I was like, let's get the rest of the Lower Decks crew in live action, you know? But at the same time, you know, I think I've always struggled with, to me, because I'm like a huge Futurama fan, that's a really big comfort show for me, and I wanted Lower Decks to be a comfort show like that, you know? And I don't like the live action versus animation. That's why I was really glad that it started in animation, became live action, and then ended in animation, even animating their characters, because it's like, it's different mediums, but it's all supposed to spark this joy, right? And so, part of me is like, yeah, let's fucking go. I want to do more stuff in live action. But another part of me is like, but guys, please watch Lower Decks. You know what I mean? Like, it's special too, and I don't want people to feel like, yeah, but couldn't we have this other thing? You know? Like, it feels a little bit like when the band splits up and people go off to do kind of like solo stuff. Because like, as much as I love the crossover, I want like Tendi and Rutherford and T'Lyn there too. You know what I mean? And like, I love Strange New Worlds, but that's their show.
Yeah.
I don't want to take away from Uhura and Spock and everybody there, like, because then you're competing for like emotional storytelling at the same time. So I would always love to do more live action. I think our cast would freaking kill it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I love Lower Decks and I don't want that to ever go away. So if live action makes that go away, I'd be like, that's like making a wish on the monkey's paw. You know what I mean? Like, no.
So how hard is it, or what are the challenges with the areas of Star Trek that you guys are deep diving into, like Ferenginar, like Orion, that the other shows haven't gone through? Like, is there a process that you're like, okay, this is what I'm thinking, like, it might go against the lore that's...
No, we don't go against the lore, but
like,
what I always
where's
think
the check?
is, what have other people done? And it's always way less than you think. There was 0 Orion.
That's what I mean.
I was like, I couldn't believe it. So then I was like, okay, now I have nothing to work off of. Like, you know, imagine like a sketch that isn't finished, but you can almost connect the dots a little bit and fill it in. With Orion, I was like, with Ferenginar, Deep Space Nine did so much that I was like, let's just go have a blast. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then just edge it slowly a little forward. I was like, Rom has probably heard from Nog how much he loves Starfleet, and so I can understand why Ferenginar would be moving in that direction. Like, that all made sense to me. But for Orion, I'm like, I have to make this whole cloth? Like, this is crazy, and I'm not making it about a bunch of people that control men with powerful pheromones. Like, that's freaking weird. So, like, I like to take the monocultures and build it out into less mono, right? Like, and then Tendi's story really, like, how did Orion turn into a thing that told us about Tendi, you know? And I think I haven't told anybody this, but my wife's favorite movie of all time is the Branagh Much Ado About Nothing. So I just made Tendi's house that castle they shot it in Florence, I think, and then went from there because I was like, they're pirates in space, but at home they have code, they have honor systems, they're matriarchal. Like, I loved all of that. You know, I loved the groom being walked down the aisle. So I tried to honor the stuff we had seen before about powerful women, but make it less about a sexual thing, make it less about control and more about, like, you know, what if you built this out and it felt a little less, you know, episodic in a way. But yeah, no, when we try to do stuff for those characters, I try to honor what's there before and then logically expand it to where it might go in a way that surprises you.
Mike Vaughn, Geek Vibes Nation. So we were having a good time talking about our hot takes of Star Trek. So what's like a controversial Star Trek hot take?
Hot takes? Ooh. I think the skants should still be worn by everybody. I think there's far too few skants. They're comfortable. They're probably super easy to go to the bathroom with. I think Oberth class ships are tight. Like, I think they look cool. Yeah, you know, I actually think the cooler a Star Trek ship looks, the worse it looks to me. Like if you have a really, really cool Star Trek ship, I'm like, give me the one, I don't remember what the class is, the one with the big ball on the front, looks really goofy. It's like a medical
It's a science
ship.
vessel.
Yeah, it's a medical ship, right?
That's the Olympic class.
Yeah. Give me the ship where nobody else is adopting that ship at the pound because it's got one eye. You know what I mean? Like those are my favorites. I mean, look at the Cerritos. You know, I went through a lot of that looks too cool. And actually, I think that's why the Enterprise D looks so cool, because like the swan neck is like a little less slick, you know? But like it does to us because we all love that ship. But like, you know, then you get the movie, they go all, what's it called, class?
Sovereign class.
Yeah, I'll go Sovereign class. And I'm like, no, I'm with Captain Freeman on that. Yeah, a little too fancy. Those are my hot takes. Scants and ugly ships.
Well, I have a question about hot takes though, because in this season you made a decision about Tuvix. You guys.
Janeway made a decision about
Well,
Tuvix.
you called her a monster.
Well, sometimes when you're stuck in the Iliad, you need to be a monster in order to preserve characters that you have season deals with. No, listen. Tuvix is so funny because like I think I've thought about Tuvix longer than I've ever watched Tuvix. You know what I mean? Like but that's the power of Star Trek too, is that like it sticks with you even if you don't agree with it. And I mean, listen. Once she got rid of Tuvix, I was like, all right, I can breathe again. This is great, you know? I didn't want that motherfucker fucking sticking around all the time. I was going to have to tune in to watch Tuvix learning about pi and shit. Like, what, that guy was going to become the new fucking Data, but it's Tuvix, and he's fucking weird. And then they weirdly made him, like, really likable. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to make Tuvix likable if you knew where it was like, hey, it's Tuvix. Oh, you should try Tuvix is so much, he can do a kickflip. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, no, why are we doing this? I don't like Tuvix. So listen, I was happy she killed Tuvix just because I didn't want to see his ass anymore. But that being said,
Nothing wrong.
but I do love that we're still arguing about Tuvix because that's Star Trek shit. Like I just love that. So I see why people hate it, but get Tuvix the fuck out of here. I'm done with this shit.
I'm going to quote you on that.
Get him out of here. Nobody wanted Tuvix around. Oh, you don't like what happened to Tuvix? Show me the Tuvix show. You want to watch Tuvix more? Go fuck yourself. Like, whatever. Sorry, Tuvix.
So, Mike, this Kid Cudi collab with the franchise is doing.
Yeah, I never get a collab.
I was like, Lower Decks, what's the collaboration you want? Who do you want?
Mattel.
Mattel? Yeah, where are those action figures, man?
I don't know. God, what would be cool Lower Deck stuff? I mean, I would love there to be so much Lower Deck stuff that it becomes a problem. You know what I mean? And if we had a collab, that's an interesting question. Who do we collab with? Who would be like a funny... Let's collab with Sufjan Stevens, you know what I mean? Like, let's do a chill collab.
Just the vibes.
Yeah, I love the Kid Cudi collab though, because he's like, you know, he did Intergalactic. Like the guy obviously, like he really like I get liking sci-fi so much that it fucks up your other shit. Do you know what I mean? Like that you like it so much that even though you have this big cool career, you're like, but I'm also still gonna keep doing sci-fi because that's what I love, you know? And like, because I remember my manager would be like, why are you writing pilots that take place on a spaceship? I'm like, I don't know, I'm sorry, but I get it. Like I feel like he's one of us, you know, and that's cool.
Has there been any boundaries set? Like, for instance, we were talking Deep Space Nine earlier.
Sure.
They're like, hey, you can do a lot, but we can't do anything with Cisco because of.
No, not that. I mean, I'd fucking work with Avery in a second. You know what I mean? But like, I try to be really respectful and be like, if I run into a legacy actor at an event and I'm like, I have this show called Lower Decks, and if they're like, yeah, I'm like, dude, can we talk? You know what I mean? Like, because I don't want to ever appear like I'm like I'm appearing out of nowhere, being like, I'm gonna ruin you. And like, at the same time, the only boundaries I'm ever getting is I never want to step on the other shows. So like, you know, I can't give away stuff about Prodigy, but there's characters, there's some Delta Quadrant stuff Prodigy does that I'm like, I wish I could have called dibs on, but like, people are gonna love that stuff in their show. You know what I mean? And then the same thing is sort of happening a little bit because Starfleet Academy, we bump up narratively a little bit because it is like people that aren't at their best just yet, they're still learning. But because Tawny's there and she knows so much about Lower Decks, she's almost able to like make sure that like if they're doing a thing, we can do a different thing and that we're never like showing you the same thing twice.
with the Lower Decks characters, Prodigy's just like a couple years in the future, Picard's just like 20 years in the future from where your stories are set. In your mind, do you know where your characters are during those time periods? Or like where they might grow to?
I do know.
And that was the end of the sentence. Good job.
Be very careful.
I'm just very curious as to why do you feel like you need to take the liberty of making these very cute monsters so menacing?
Yeah. You don't have kids, do you?
Yeah. And they're not scared. That's the weird dynamic. It's like, oh, they're nice and they're evil. I was like, what do you dream about at night? Like, I'm
scared of kids. When we had my first kid, I was like, oh, I knew I'd love you, just not how scary you were all the time. I don't know. I mean, we're playing it for comedy, right? Yeah. And like inherently in the Lower Decks animation style, it's hard to draw something scary.
Okay.
So it's almost easier to draw something cute and then have it drink your bones. You know what I mean?
I love that quote.
I love bone drinking. You know where the bone drinking came from? Oh, the Capri Sun. Yeah. It actually was inspired by a movie I saw in high school called Deep Rising. It's a Treat Williams, Famke Janssen movie where the tagline was like, it drinks your bones. Or no, it was in this trailer where they're like, they don't kill you, they drink you, you know? And I remember seeing it being like, fuck, yes, I love sci-fi, you know? And I'd always wanted to do a creature that drinks you. I don't know why I thought that was so funny. So the Moopsie not looking like it could drink you, and then it sucks that thing from like the Capri Sun. But yeah, we just play with, the art style plays, it's like harder to get something scary, you know? Although if you go back to Rage Douche, the Klingons in that look awesome. They look intense, and they look a little scary, which I'm like, all right, comedy animator, artists, character designers, you did good this time. These guys look good.
Thank you.
Last one.
I noticed that Beckett is pansexual.
Yeah.
Are we going to see any more of her and Jennifer?
Yes, in season 5.
Okay, thank you.
Are they going to sit weird in chairs? My friend Andy was.
Thank you. Tell your friend thank you for that.
Yes.
Mariner canonically sits weird in chairs because I had a long conversation with
Annie from the Women at Warp.
Annie from Women at Warp, who told me that there is a meme about bi women sitting weird in chairs, so I made sure on screen to reference that for Mariner for her. And if you don't know what it was, it sounds like she's just making a Riker joke. In conversations with, I thought I had resolved on screen the Mariner-Jennifer relationship in a way that had spoken to me because I had never liked their relationship. I thought Jennifer liked Mariner for the wrong reasons. Like the way she utilizes her with her group of friends, I thought was not from a loving place. And that like they met each other through, they kind of had a romance start in chaos. And like, it's not like the calmness that I find in relationships that grow, that they come from a place of calmness and like support, that Mariner's worst tendencies were being magnified by Jennifer in a way, and Jennifer kept her from going to Deep Space Nine, which I was like, oh, people will now hate Jennifer, but I think, unfortunately, Jennifer is so funny and fun, and you love seeing them together, that my resolution of when Jennifer responded exactly wrong to Mariner getting kicked off the ship, that in hindsight, that's one of those times where I'm like, we needed another episode. That needed to be episode 7, and then Mariner needed to be gone episode 8, and then it needed to be a tougher resolution, like at the end of the season. But these are things you only learn in hindsight, you know what I mean? And so, but knowing that in hindsight, I had a long conversation with Jesse Gender about this, where like, I see the audience's reaction and their opinion, and I respect it. So there is a better resolution to Mariner and Jennifer in season 5.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you guys.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, and my wife will be thrilled.
Okay, can you do
Oh, whatever you want. Yeah. Well, I think I gotta get moving, but yeah.
I'll get up.
Or why don't?
I